Welcome back to the Second and Short podcast. I'm Hayden, joined alongside by my brother Christian. Christian, free agency frenzy's in full swing, and we got left hanging. It's you and me to just carry this thing home.
Yes, sir.
Obviously assisted by Luke, but ditched by Cooper, Josie, and Eli. But the Ford Bros got this. Christian, free agency weekend. What have been your thoughts so far?
Very exciting. I actually expected a lot more free agents not to sign off the bat, especially big ones. Like the running back market went down after like the first couple of hours into free agency. I expected a lot more players to hold out, a couple more to wait on to see if they had a better team in mind or not.
No, the money did disappear quickly for running backs. What were some moves that you liked on the running back market, and what were some moves that kind of raised your eyebrows a little bit?
Tony Pollard to the Titans raised my eyebrows because I thought Spears was just going to be their next guy because he showed that he was a good back and that he's definitely the future. I mean, I don't mind the signing. It's a good duo for them to have, but I did not think they were going to spend top dollar money. I thought they would go for maybe a Zach Moss or someone where you're like, all right, we got a good running back duo with that. The best one was Saquon to the Eagles. I mean, you're just adding to that loaded offense already, and then you got the tush push, and then you have literally Jalen Hurts who can run the ball. They both squat like 600 pounds. They're both nuts. Derrick Henry to the Ravens is obviously nuts just with that backfield. He's dominant with the power game, and then you have Lamar who can obviously run and hit people too. Singletary, the Giants messed up. I think Singletary's a good back, but also I just don't get why you don't just pay Saquon that money because that's really exactly what he wanted last year, and you pay him that on a one-year deal. I just don't get why you don't keep your best player on your team for your offense.
Yeah, the Saquon really made me question what the Giants were doing. They had the cap room. I personally thought that they were just going to franchise tag him and just have that be the end-all, be-all. Obviously, Saquon's not going to be a fan of that, but I did think that made sense from the team perspective. As for Tony Pollard, I love the scheme fit there. I've been hypercritical of the Titans, partially just because of how big of a Mike Vrabel fan I am, but Tony Pollard and Calvin Ridley, I think those are two great fits for his offense. You obviously overpay for Calvin Ridley, but you pair him up with DeAndre Hopkins.
It'd be like a Christian Kirk situation with that too. You never know, but yeah, with the age, I just didn't like that one that much.
Yeah, Tennessee does have some weapons around Will Levis. I'm still planning on being a Titans hater for the remainder of the season, just out of respect to Braves.
We know how you are, like Sirianni.
I hold a vendetta, but I mean, we got to hit on the quarterbacks, right? Our Pittsburgh Steelers getting Russell Wilson and Justin Fields.
I didn't think Fields was happening at all after that happened. I was so happy. I was at my friend's house visiting him in college, and then we were just making some food. I jump up on the couch because he's a big Ohio State fan and loved Fields, and he thought he was going to Seattle because he's a Seahawks fan. And I jump up. I'm like, Steelers traded for Justin Fields. I can't believe it actually happened.
So even after the Kenny Pickett trade, you still didn't think it was going to happen?
I honestly, the thing I saw was Josh Dobbs reuniting maybe. I honestly thought that could be a strong possibility. I honestly thought that they're going to force Wilson to be our guy. Honestly, I started looking more towards the draft too. I was like, we're definitely going to draft someone in a later round. And then I didn't even think about which I thought was more of a not going to happen, but I was like, shoot, do we trade up? Do we get a quarterback in this draft, like first round maybe, if they drop? But that was just me thinking outside the box a little bit more. But also I thought that was a possibility. And we still don't even know if Fields is our guy after this year. I mean, they said Russ is starting, and they said they want to extend Russ depending on his play, but that came out after that, but they still said they wanted to extend Russ.
No, once Kenny was traded, I knew the door was open for a Fields trade, and it made the most sense. We knew the Steelers wanted to make a splash. We knew they needed competition for Russell Wilson. And if you were looking around, the quarterback market was bare at that point. Backups had pretty much all been filled. Josh Dobbs, as you mentioned, he signs with the 49ers to compete with Brandon Allen to be the number 2 behind Brock Purdy. But the only other option that really made sense for a Fields trade was Minnesota. And you don't want to trade him in division because if that pans out...
They traded for the other first rounder, I think, before we traded for Fields too. So
Minnesota currently the favorite to land J.J. McCarthy in the draft. That was another move. We can talk about that later, but seemingly fleecing the Texans to get a second first rounder, presumably to move up in the draft to get a quarterback, maybe J.J., maybe Bo Nix, maybe Drake May. But I mean, I want Steeler fans to kind of just hit the brakes a little bit. I think that Russell Wilson will be the starter. This isn't your dad's Pittsburgh Steelers where they're not making moves. Like, that was the long time thing. The Steelers don't make big time moves. Omar Khan seemingly has changed that. But one thing that hasn't changed about the Steelers is the way that they handle the roster with the players that have been acquired. And Russell Wilson's going to be the number one. He's going to get every chance to start. And then guess what? If he starts to fault a little bit, you're only paying him $1.2 million, and that's when we're going to see a Justin Fields
and honestly,
move.
Wilson's the perfect guy to develop Fields. Fields just had Andy Dalton, which I won't say he was a bad quarterback to have, but Wilson knows where Fields is coming at with mobility, the strong arm, but like I don't know if Wilson, because this was before I like really fell in love with football, was that accurate when he first came into the league. But I mean, they both had strong arms. Wilson could show him how to be accurate too, and then he could be our guy later on too. You never know.
Similar play styles for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Run and gun.
Yeah, Luke, get in here. I want your take. So, me and Christian bring a more. Is this the first time Luke's been on camera? First of all,
Probably since
The only time he popped his head behind there, yeah.
I
Or
like
maybe
this.
the other
Nice,
episode. I don't know.
Nice and cozy.
Yeah.
But all
More
right,
comfortable than the fold-up chair in the corner.
yeah. So Luke, me and Christian follow incredibly closely. Christian has said that he's like my little Padawan in training before. You follow closely with the Steelers, but
I'm a homer for sure.
yeah. So I need your thought process. As a former Pitt fan, I felt like I needed therapy. I opened up our TikTok about the Kenny trade by saying that there's just a rush of emotions. Me and Christian have kind of hit on that with other content for the Second and Short podcast. I want to hear your thoughts on Russell, Kenny, and Justin Fields.
Kenny leaving doesn't really bother me at all. I feel like I don't have to pretend he's good anymore. And I think he's kind of a diva there with everything going on with Russ coming in. I mean, sure, he was upset because he probably thought he was going to be the starter, and then Russ came in. I'm very happy about the Russ trade, and Fields coming in was great. I didn't see that coming. That, especially after us picking up Russ, I was like, all right, that's it. We're just going to get some lower no-name backups or something. Didn't see that coming, but very happy with all the moves so far.
I would agree with that. And I think what someone put it this way, and I forget who, so I don't want to give credit to the wrong person, but they said Kenny didn't owe the Steelers anything, and the Steelers didn't owe Kenny anything. Kenny did not play well enough to warrant being a diva. With that said, the Steelers kind of doing some backdoor channeling, bringing Mason Rudolph's agent in, presumably to get a deal done, then sending him away and signing Russell Wilson without letting Kenny or Mason know. There were some shady things that the Steelers did. With that said, get over it, Kenny. You
heard what Rooney said.
have what,
We're ready.
7 touchdowns?
Yeah.
And then you saying that you didn't learn anything on the sidelines or anything like that. That just like, I hope the best for you, but that just makes me feel like you're not getting another shot as a starter.
No.
Like, that's you saying that make teams like, yes, you're a good backup. Teams would take you as a backup. If I was the Eagles, I'd be like, heck yeah, I'm glad we got a good backup now if Hurts gets injured.
And it sucks after you've been a starter and now you have to be a backup, but like ultimately you're in the NFL. Being a backup is better than it sounds.
And then you got to see like Baker Mayfield. That happened to him. He's a starter now.
Yeah.
He never said anything like that. He took that as like motivation.
Oh, yeah.
Sam Darnold. He's never said anything. He's possibly Minnesota's starting quarterback for the whole year if they don't draft maybe just
They're
half a year.
drafting someone.
They're probably
Go
drafting
out.
someone, but he's at least their bridge guy to stay in until zone. I actually think he's going to do well in that system. He had 2 good systems in the past 2 years. You never know.
When Kenny's so young still, like
And
he has
Fields,
his
yeah.
whole career ahead of him.
Fields hasn't said anything stupid yet, and he chose Steelers. He chose the Steelers because he thought it was his best shot. There was better offers for the Bears to take, but they did right by Fields too. And then Fields wanted to go to Pittsburgh, and that he wasn't guaranteed the starting spot. Tom told him right away, "You're backup," and he's embracing it. He's not saying anything bad or stupid.
And that's the thing. And I think Kenny is going to embrace the backup role in Philadelphia. But obviously, all pro athletes don't want to be a backup. They want to be the starter. They want to be the star. And Kenny's best bet at becoming a starter again one day down the road was staying in Pittsburgh, whether that was beating out Russell Wilson, because Russell Wilson hasn't been cooking, let's be honest. The past couple of years, it's not that far-fetched to see Russell Wilson being outplayed, benched for Kenny Pickett next season. But that's not going to happen with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts isn't going to get outplayed by Kenny Pickett.
One of the highest paid quarterbacks. He's one of the top talents in the league at quarterback. I mean,
Injury would be the only reason.
yeah.
We don't want to see that.
And the thing that makes me mad too is Russ. I get being mad and everything, but you treat Russ like Russell Wilson like tried reaching out to you and everything. Like Russell Wilson was trying to do his part as the mentor guy, as the older guy, being the starter. Like, yeah, I know it sucks and everything. I'm sorry, but I'm trying to like teach you stuff, and then you could hopefully be the next guy up for them.
Like he took that first initiative.
Yeah, he
because
texted him
He knows
right
how
away.
Kenny
Like,
would feel about
he
that.
knows how to be like the nice guy and do everything right. It's not like the right thing. Like Joe Flacco did that to Lamar Jackson. You knew how much I hated that. When I knew Flacco was washed too, I was like, no.
Flacco going to be in that mentor role once again with Anthony Richardson.
I hope he's a beast.
Colts is where
I hope AR's a beast.
the Colts is where like older quarterbacks go to retire.
Rivers, Ryan. All right, Luke, one last question before I let you go. Thank you for being a good sport and coming out in
It's a
front
little
of
more intimidating here than I thought with all the lights and stuff. It's easier from back there.
And I want to let the audience know we talked about this ahead of time since, as we mentioned before, Josie, Cooper, and Eli ditched us. They left the Ford Bros and Luke to hold the fort down. One episode. Yes, don't worry. They'll be back. Luke, you called yourself a homer. I got to know, do you view the Steelers as Super Bowl contenders?
This year, no.
No, really.
I mean, I think we can get a playoff win this year just by looking at the different trades and things that we've done with the roster. But I don't know about Super Bowl.
We need to do more on offense before we say anything else.
So
I'm never worried about our defense.
I think we could get a playoff win, but I don't know about making it all the way.
So you're thinking like hard ceiling is divisional round, one playoff win?
Probably, yeah.
If we had Wilson against the Bills, we would have won, I think. We almost won with Mason Rudolph. I think we would have won. I have more trust.
I think our chances would have been slightly better, but Mason's not the reason we lost that game.
I'm not blaming Mason, but I
Rudolph's
think better
that much
quarterback.
below
I think
Russell.
quarterback play was way better. And then also, I don't know. I just feel like I trust Wilson throwing the ball more than Mason did.
A little more confident.
All right. Well, Luke, pleasure. Thank
zip
you.
on back.
Thank you. All right. I planned on this being a later segment, but we are going to throw Josie a bone because we know he wants this move to happen. Brandon Ayuk, heavily rumored right now to being traded to the Steelers.
This heavily rumored? I thought it was just one stupid thing.
No,
Really? See, that makes me a little excited.
All right. Josie, huge supporter of Brandon Ayuk. I'm skeptical. Christian, I want to hear your thoughts and then I'll counter. I'm assuming we're going to be on different wavelengths here.
I'm in the middle. I think that he's a great receiver.
Well, that's boring. This is a podcast. Pick a side.
I want him on our team. I mean, we're the 20th pick, right?
Yep.
See, giving up a 20th pick doesn't sound that bad for a player like Ayuk. And I know we have to pay him, but like I'd rather have Ayuk than trading up. And to think, I know our third rounders are a little later, but you got to think we still have seconds and 2 third rounders. I know that we could find a receiver no matter where, but also I think Ayuk is one of the best route runners out there. It's better than Deontay. He's faster. He's more physical. He plays his heart out on the field no matter what. I think that he would love playing behind Tomlin. I would pay him, and I think that he's a great guy to have, especially if we get Boyd in too. If we end up signing him or signing someone else, I also have faith in Van Jefferson.
I don't know if Boyd would come if a trade to Ayuk happens. I don't know if that would make sense from a cap standpoint or a Tyler Boyd standpoint.
I have no clue what Steelers are doing with the draft or offense, but I'm honestly fine with Ayuk coming into the system. I didn't know it was heavily. I just saw that, and I didn't hear any other rumors. Like, I actually, before the podcast, I actually been trying to dig deeper. And
You know how
stuff.
skeptical I am. This is one where I'll admit there's some smoke there, and where there's smoke, there's a fire.
If I won't be mad like you are, I would be excited. I don't know, to tell you the truth. Would you rather give up our first, or would you rather give up our second and third, and maybe the other third?
All right. Well, since you're gonna
That's where you got to think.
No, I'll give you a realistic hypothetical trade. The Steelers' first rounder, the 20th overall pick, presumably right now, the center out of Oregon or Amarius Mims, the tackle from Georgia. So one of those two would be giving up.
Oh, you know I want Mims more, but I think
So we're giving up our first rounder, Calvin Austin, for Brandon Ayuk, and then we would pay him a 3-year, $75 million deal with around $45 million guaranteed.
See, I would want.
Would you do that?
See, the reason why
That's what it would be at. Would you do
know
it?
what I will say? All right, so going to, I'm gonna dig this I'm gonna break this down piece by piece for you. So, I was talking to Josie in this earlier because we were at work and everything.
Shocker, Josie wanted Brandon Ayuk.
Well, no, we didn't even talk about Brandon Ayuk. I told him what I thought about like the draft and everything. I like the center out Oregon. I forget he has like two names.
Jackson, Powers, or something. Yeah.
So I like him. I think that he's probably the best center in the draft. Might even be between like the guards and everything, considered the best interior no matter what. I see him as being a first round guy like later on, but also I could see him going to the second where I don't want him in the
going in the
first.
second.
Well, if he doesn't, he doesn't.
All right, fine. Not the center. Are you giving up our first rounder and more to pay a receiver 3 years, 75? He's young. I'll give him that. He just turned 26 this month.
I'm gonna have to say yes because it's the 20th overall pick. The thing when you say Calvin Austin, I want Austin to get a shot, and I think 49ers give him a shot.
Do you want him to get a shot? Because you're talking about...
I think he should start over Jefferson.
But you're talking about Ayuk, you're talking about Pickens, Austin, Van Jefferson, and Tyler Boyd. That's 5 receivers.
And I don't want Boyd if we get Ayuk. I'm fine with not that.
Okay.
But I want Austin to get his shot because I'm always going to say this because Sauce said he was the hardest receiver he's ever covered.
Yep.
One of the best corners in the league. We saw him play a little bit this year. He played good when he came in. He was the deep threat for us. He did good other than Pickens. He was the deep threat. He did good when he was open a lot too. Pickens just didn't throw the freaking ball ever. And then I don't know. I don't want to give a speed guy when we draft him in the 4th round when I have so much faith in him to play. I think it should go. If we get Ayuk, Pickens, and then Austin, hopefully we could keep him, and then Van Jefferson. He just deserves a shot, but I will give it the 20th pick because, I mean, yes, this receiver class is so heavily like stacked and everything, but I don't know. It's a day one guy. It makes me feel a lot better with us giving away Deontay instead because I think I trust us covering our defense more than our offense this whole time, no matter what, because Tomlin's a defensive-minded coach and everything. But I think there's already a lot of holes on offense to begin with before that, and then we just made another big hole getting rid of Deontay. That's one reason why I hated that trade so much, where I'm just like, our receivers suck other than Pickens right now. And we don't even know what Austin is because we don't use him at all.
Okay. So I'm going to say why I'm not a fan of a potential Ayuk trade, presuming that I'm right about the would-be cost. And then we'll move on from the Steelers. For now, I have a feeling they'll be brought up into conversation again naturally with the other segments. But the first round pick, I feel like there's much more value on this team grabbing a lineman, whether that be a center or a tackle, or in my eyes, I really still want a cornerback, whether that's Cooper DeJean or Nate Wiggins. But then even if we were going to go the wide receiver route, which unless there's an Ayuk trade, I stand by my statement a couple weeks ago that the Steelers will draft a receiver in either the first or the second round. Worthy, maybe. The guy who's moving up draft boards right now that I really want is Brian Thomas. He was LSU's wide receiver too. He's 30 pounds heavier than Worthy, but still runs a 4.29.
That's awesome.
It's like 6 foot or 6'1".
Yeah, I mean
he's not like tall.
Worthy.
I think the guy. I would take a receiver in the first round. What I want us to do in the first round is either corner or lineman. And in the second round, I want Xavier Legette.
In the second?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because he has a deep voice?
No, not because he's big. I like bigger receivers than like the tinier guys.
I want speed
because
with size. But getting back to Luke real quick,
slow.
Worthy is 6'1", 172, and Brian Thomas is 6'4", 205. So 30 pounds heavier, still running a 4.29.
Leggett didn't run that slow. Like Leggett makes me think of DK. He's not as fast as DK, but I want a big physical receiver who's tall. I just feel like a lot of receivers aren't built like DK anymore, and Legett's one of those guys that's built like it. And I would love just think of him and Pickens together, because Pickens, you know how physical he is and everything, but he's not like DK size or anything like that. Like, imagine we have someone like that next to Pickens who's not that slow either. I would love that, especially if we could get him in the second round, get my dream offensive lineman Mims, and then him. I would love that. We have 2 tackles who I love, and then we have our wide receiver.
Okay, well, you just said you wanted Ayuk, so there's a lot of things that you
I'm
want.
fine with getting Ayuk, but also I would rather.
Let me get back to saying why
I'll switch with Ayuk. I wanted to keep our picks.
Okay, so 1, I want our first rounder. I could care less about Calvin Austin. I agree that he hasn't gotten a fair shake, but that's not really a reason to do or not to do a trade in my eyes. But then you look at the rest of this offense and the rest of the draft. The draft is loaded with wide receivers, just as there is every single year. And a wide receiver comes on a 4-year rookie contract, way less than the 25 per year that Brandon Ayuk's likely going to want. Maybe he'll get even higher than that with Jerry Jeudy's contract coming in. In addition, the Steelers have weapons. They might not have wide receivers, but we have other guys to get the ball. We have 2 stud running backs. We have George Pickens, who is going to be due for a contract as soon as next year. So George Pickens is a guy who has shown number 1 potential, like true number 1 dominate the game potential. Why give up all this compensation and then pay the guy like he's better than George Pickens when George Pickens is homegrown and has shown more potential and a higher ceiling than what Brandon Ayuk has?
The only thing that would love Ayuk is because he's one of the best route runners, and I would trust him. Like,
guess who else was a good route runner? Oh, well, we've had this conversation before on the podcast. Debo's a better football player. Ayuk's a better wide receiver. I think Josie coined that phrase like the first episode of the podcast. Yeah. But I think you know who else was a good route runner? Like, really good route runner? The guy we just shipped off, Deontay Johnson. Like, one of the best route runners in the league. So as long as you have a diverse route tree, I don't care too much. Like, obviously, if you have a route tree like Devontae Adams or Cooper Kupp, that's preferred. But also, I feel like George Pickens has evolved his route tree enough where he could be the number 1 guy. And I would rather continue just devoting resources towards him, towards Pat Freiermuth, towards Jalen and Najee, and then bring in a veteran like a Tyler Boyd, like a Hunter Renfrow instead.
Part of me also wants to believe that Omar can fleece them and just give up not our first rounder or maybe next year's first, because I'd much rather do that. But I don't know. If it happens, I won't be entirely mad. If it doesn't happen, I won't be mad either. That's why I said I'm in the middle.
All right. We are going to move on to a draft of the winners of free agency so far. Christian, do you want the first pick?
Now you go.
All right. I'm actually glad because typically I'm pretty generous. I let all you guys grab the first pick. But the clear winner of the offseason so far to me, the Houston Texans. Are you kidding me? Like, They are the greatest threat to the Chiefs' chances of three-peating right now. First,
don't do that to my boy Joe Burrow.
Don't
do that to my boy Joe Burrow. No.
Well, all right, we'll talk about another Joe. You trade for Joe Mixon. You give up a 7th rounder and you extend him.
Fleece. Yeah.
Devin Singletary had a great year with Houston last year. Guess what? Joe Mixon's still better. So Joe Mixon joins an already loaded offense. You bring back Noah Brown. He joins a receiving core that already has
wide receiver 4.
Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and Robert Woods is still there.
Probably will go with the draft too, probably somehow.
And what I love even more on defense, Al-Shahis Hyair. Right?
Yeah.
I think we got that right.
I don't mind that. I think Cashman's better. Cashman's younger.
I don't know.
But Cashman's a freak of an athlete.
I think
Cashman is fast. I don't know. I think Cashman's good.
maybe
I
on
like
Madden.
Minnesota get-
Shahiz is like a top 10 off-ball linebacker. He is a guy, he's worked with D'Amico Ryans before. You had him from the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, but I just like their linebackers because they had Christian Harris, who I love. You know, I loved him. I loved him out of the draft. I hope they still use him as like one of their best linebackers, and he's freaking fast too. But I don't know. I just thought that him and Cashman together were
Can I
really good.
continue just like fawning over the Texans for a second? Will you shut up? Okay. So you also steal Danico Autry, one of the best interior pass rushers in football, a guy that many people don't know about, but he's been a dog. Guess who? The Titans. The Titans, shocker, I'm going to hate on them a little bit. You let two of your best defensive players walk out of the building and go to Houston, who is the best team in that division and one of the better teams in the conference. Oh, yeah, and then my guy, Daniil Hunter from Minnesota, he signs on for a 3-year deal. And I don't know. This team's starting to look pretty good. If they end up making a playoff push, who knows? Maybe J.J. Watt comes back.
Shut up.
Like, I don't know.
That's what I'm going to tell you to shut up.
With how good this Houston team is looking, I am bought in completely. Whatever the Texans win total ends up being for the money line, hit the over. Houston is a team to deal with next year.
Yeah, no, I was always in on Houston even after the year before free agency started. I figured they were going to make some splash moves. Tell you the truth, I was shocked Hunter went there. I mean, I'm not shocked Houston wanted him or went for him, but I did not expect him to want to go there because he just wasn't in the teams like they were talking about going for or like where he was going to land at all. It shocked me, but yeah, it was pretty good for Houston. Yeah, they did good. Their team's nuts.
All right, your winner?
Between two. No, screw it. I don't want to say what everyone else is saying. I'm going to say the Lions.
Okay.
They brought in their good corner that they needed for a 3rd-round pick, Carlton Davis, which they needed help big time. So that was good. They also brought in Kevin Zeitler on a 1-year deal, which was today. That was
Replacing
good. Yeah,
their Pro Bowl guard, Jonah Jackson,
they
with another
replaced
Pro
him.
Bowler.
And then, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the other guy they signed that was big. Oh my gosh. What am I thinking? Dude, I'm actually getting mad here. I have to check it out.
Wow, this is embarrassing.
Shut up.
What a amateur show.
We usually have 2 more people to distract from people.
Unbelievable.
Shut up.
I should fire him. He's awful.
Shut up.
Oh, wake me up when it's over.
Peoples Jones was a good one, bringing back that cheap.
That's
I don't
why
care.
they're a winner of the
I don't
offseason.
care. I don't care what you say. He was good as a Brown, and they never used him. But
Yeah, I
hope
think
they
I
use
won
him.
this draft. You
Shut up. DJ Reader. Oh my gosh, that's who I was having brain for. One of the best D tackles, which I did not think he was going to go there. I thought he was never in like the talks with anyone like to Detroit, and Detroit got him. That helps out. Him and McNeil together is really good. I don't like Davenport that much because he fell off in Minnesota. I mean, hopefully he could bounce back there a little bit. have a
talent,
good
but
year.
never really
Yeah.
lived up to anything.
Like his last year on the Saints was good and everything, but I think they still need that other edge rusher. But they improved big time on that defense, and their offense didn't need any fixing at all. I mean, they brought back their OC, kept everything there, and got a better guard, arguably, on that team. So they stayed there on the offense. They didn't really need to do anything, and then they improved their defense a ton. So I think they did good, and I think they're going to be way better next year.
I'm thinking we hit on 2 more winners of free agency and then do 3 losers of free agency so far. I'm going to go with the Buccaneers. Shout out David Solomon. The Buccaneers able to retain Baker Mayfield, Levante David, Antoine Winfield, Levante David, Mike Evans, Baker Mayfield. The list goes on, and I really find that impressive. You clear some cap by trading Carlton Davis. That was a good move for the Lions. Also, they get a number 1 corner. But I think the Bucs were in real danger of kind of facing a rebuild, but they're able to kind of continue with the competitive rebuild model in this post Tom Brady
pulled
era.
the Rams to me with like drafting their young guys, and their young guys actually played pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have a corner with a weird name like Azir or something like that. He stepped up for them pretty good, and then they have that Darby guy.
Now the Bucs are in a division where the Falcons are probably going to be favored with the new Kirk Cousins signing that we haven't even mentioned yet. But Baker Mayfield, I think, can keep them competitive, and who knows? Maybe they end up being a Cinderella story again like they were this season.
I'm going to go with the obvious. Eagles.
Yep.
I mean, I was thinking about them with my first pick, but that's why I wanted to change away. They bring in the best back in the free agency in my eyes. Their receivers stay the same. I mean, they spent on defense. I like Huff. I think he was overpaid a little bit, but also you don't know his potential. Like, he did good with the Jets. I think he could be better there. They kept Josh Sweat he actually like restructured and everything. They improved a lot, and then they got Devin White, and then they brought CJ Gardner-Johnson back, which
And they're gonna get even more
It's just-
draft capital
yeah.
for Hassan Reddick whenever he's
just-
traded.
yeah. Part of me wants him to hopefully he changed
no.
his mind to stay.
Josh Sweat restructuring meant he was gone. They're not gonna keep both of them. That's why you bring in what edge rusher did they sign again?
They brought Huff.
Yeah, you have Huff. They're not bringing in.
I was hoping that they would keep him, but yeah, no. I mean, yeah, you don't even know. I mean, they could probably they should, in my eyes, that like he's worth a first rounder more than a second rounder. Reddick, I think he's severely underrated to me. But yeah, Howie's being Howie every year.
Yep.
He's just bringing everything. And then they're probably going to fleece a lot of people in the draft again with studs.
just like they do every
yeah,
year.
so they're just going to keep on doing that.
I have two that I'm between, and I really like. They both deserve recognition. So if you don't choose the other one, then I'm gonna talk about them.
I think
quick.
my team I'm going to pick, you're not going to pick.
All right, I'm gonna go not a team. I'm gonna go Caleb Williams being the biggest winner. The Chicago Bears. Ryan Poles is doing his thing right now, and it is beautiful to watch. Keenan Allen for a fourth rounder. Are you kidding me? The fact that the Chargers had the audacity to ask him to take a pay cut after he recorded a season with over 100 catches, over 1,000 yards, and 7 touchdowns. A culture builder, a guy who's been there since they were the San Diego
Loyal
Chargers.
guy on their team.
The San Diego Chargers.
He didn't even want to leave too. He never wanted to leave when they sucked. Like, he's the most loyal guy that they ever had.
Like Mike Williams asking him to take a pay cut, fine. Asking Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack to take a pay cut, fine. Keenan Allen is coming off of a career year. You add him into a receiving room that already has DJ Moore. You have 2 number 1 receivers, like 2 true number 1 receivers, not the T. Higgins bullcrap wide receiver one where, he might be a wide receiver 1 if Jamar Chase wasn't in the room. No, 2 guys who are wide receiver 1s. You also bring in Gerald Everett as a tight end 2 for $6 million a year when Noah Fant is making $10 million a year. Noah Fant, that move was awful. He signs a deal 2-year, $20 million. He had 30 catches, 300 yards, and no touchdowns. Gerald Everett, solid production every single year. Oh yeah,
I was about this.
We're also bringing in DeAndre Swift. Caleb Williams, I love it. You still have the 9th overall pick, maybe where you add an offensive lineman, or who knows, maybe another weapon.
Just go all out on defense and then build your defense.
But no, Chicago, the only thing that could have been better for Chicago so far this offseason, if you would have fired Matt Eberflus and hired an offensive head coach.
Yeah, so that was your third, right?
Yeah, so who are you picking?
Frick. Between 2. Screw it. I'm gonna go Dolphins.
As a winner?
For defensive side, yeah, I think they're gonna be.
They might show up on my list as a loser.
Their O-line needs fixing big time, but I think that they improved their defense a ton. I mean, their defense looked good, and then they struggled at the end. They got Jordan Poyer on a 1-year deal. They also brought in. Oh my God! Barrett. I think he's very underrated. I mean, he also fell off after the Super Bowl year, but I
was going to say, do you know?
No, I do. But I think that everyone was like, Miami, what the heck are you doing? They do need to bring in their O-line more. But, I mean, their offense is going to stay their offense. They have Tyreek Hill still no matter what. Jalen Waddle's coming back. They have A-Shane, who hopefully comes back healthy because he kept getting hurt and then coming back hurt. And you have Tua, which haters are still going to hate on him. I think Tua's still a great quarterback. Part of me wishes they also brought back Gesicki for that cheap. I mean, Gesicki that
he doesn't fit though. They need a blocking tight end.
Part of me just hope we just use him in receiving game. But yeah, Armstead restructuring him helped out a lot. But yeah, they do need to fix their O-line. My honorable mention was also going to be the Vikings.
See, my honorable mention was going to be
Falcons? Was your gonna be
no,
Falcons?
the Vikings with Sam Darnold. They were going to be a winner of.
I don't care. I have faith in Sam Darnold. They're drafting a quarterback. They've improved that defense. I don't care what you say if they lost to Neil Hunter. I don't care. I think they improved big time. I think they actually had a decent free agency where you're like, all right, this isn't as bad as what I thought it would be.
I think a reason why you're saying the Vikings were a winner is a huge reason why the Dolphins were a loser. You lose Andrew Van Ginkel and Jerome Baker, and you bring in Jordan Brooks and Shaq Barrett, who 7.5 sacks the past 2 years combined.
That's a decent edge, and they have
4.5 sacks
They have
last year?
Jalen Phillips coming back. They have Bradley Chubb. They are chilling with edge. Doesn't matter. The only thing I was mad about was Wilkins too. But their interior D line, they still have.
Sounds like
Zyler.
you're
They
making
still have
arguments
Zyler.
against yourself.
No, I think they're still gonna be good. McDaniels,
Marcus Golden.
That wasn't that bad.
Marcus Golden, the Steelers' backup edge rusher, had more sacks in production than Shaq Barrett. And Shaq Barrett's making $9 million this year. Marcus Golden's a street free agent right now.
I think Dolphins are gonna be decent this year.
My honorable mention was the Steelers for just showing some urgency. I thought that went without saying.
Surprised you didn't go Falcons at all.
I don't like the Darnell Mooney signing. The Kirk Cousins signing is obviously a good one,
Rondell
but
Moore move.
yeah. All right, draft of the losers. Christian, you can go first, and we'll go a little faster for these three.
I want to say Giants just because of Saquon, and I think they overpaid for O linemen. Like, yes, they improved their O line, but for the guys they got, they paid them. Like, I just don't get why they couldn't have gone for a better player. Like, they could have gone for Lewis, the guy for, I forget his first name, for the Panthers. I would have rather paid him that much
Damian Lewis.
instead of Runyon. Elmore, I think, is a decent tackle, but not for the money he was worth. But, I mean, Brian Burns is the only reason why I was sort of like, and like, are they losers? Just because they added Brian Burns, who obviously he's a decent edge rusher, and they didn't give up, like, they gave up a second. That's basically, and then a fifth.
Him and Thibodeau
Yeah,
could be scary, but
yeah.
also they could wind up doing nothing.
But
All right, I'm going to go the Saints. And I'm sorry, Michael Balco, friend of the show. He's tweeted out all excited about the Chase Young signing. And I was tempted to reply. He was like, oh, look how scary this Saints defense is. Chase Young does not make that defense scary. I said it last year. This is the most mid team in football, in the most mid division in football. And guess what? I was right. The Saints were as mid as you could be. Dennis Allen, a mid head coach. Derek Carr, a mid quarterback. They're not bad, but they're not good. There's no reason for optimism if you're a Saints fan. You're just kind of in this weird lingo that you have been since the later years of Drew Brees. Chase Young, by the way, the move that Balco was all excited about, he's having neck surgery and might not even be back by the start of training camp. I don't know what Saints fans can be excited about, and I feel bad for them. When was the last time that they had real reason to be excited about something? The
year they
NFC Championship game with the Rams, where
I was going to say the year they lost to the Bucks, because I think they're Super Bowl contenders that year too.
Drew Brees was playing on half an arm, though. Teddy Bridgewater and Jameis Winston were better quarterbacks, and Taysom Hill at that point. But Saints, I'm going to continue to just flame them, much like the Titans. I think Dennis Allen's kind of in a lame duck year. No room for excitement, really, on the offensive or defensive side of the ball.
I think I just got to say it easily, the Chargers. I mean, they're just, you could show they're in a rebuild. I feel bad for Herbert, but also part of me is excited for him because he just has Harbaugh.
I was going to say, I think I agree their offseason has been horrendous, but keeping Bosa and Mack, and then the fact that you
their
have
defense
Harbaugh,
is still staying the same.
they're going to win a Super Bowl as long as they keep Jim Harbaugh.
but,
I'm firm in saying that.
That's the only thing you're looking forward to on the offensive side. I mean, you could also look forward to the draft. I mean, you don't know what they're going to do. I mean, you get your new running back. You don't know if Quinn Johnson's going to be good under Harbaugh or not. And Palmer was underrated there, and he's getting his shot finally too, to be like their main guy, to see what he can do. But yeah, the only thing on offense you're looking forward to is just Herbert and sort of your O-line, but your O-line's still not there. You just have Slater and have to hope Zion Johnson doesn't become a bust.
Yeah, I'm going to stay in the worst division in football. I'm going to stay in the NFC South and go the Panthers. I'm happy that you bring in Deontay Johnson just because you need some talent on that roster for Bryce Young. You overpay for two guards, though, in Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis. Two above average guards that got paid like their perennial Pro Bowl, like future Hall of Famers. It's not going to work out. I think Dave Canales is looking at 2 years tops on this job. And I like Bryce Young. This isn't an indictment on him in any way, but I just don't see him succeeding. And it's not his fault. It's more of what's around him right now, whether it's the owner, the head coach, or just the overall team.
I actually don't mind what the Panthers did. Just shows how much I think they actually didn't do that bad. I mean, yeah, they overpaid, but also their O-line's a lot better than what it was. I think those two guards, like they have a good tackle. Hopefully, I don't even know how to pronounce his name.
Iko.
Yeah, Iko. We'll just say Iko. Bounces back after this year, and then Hunt had a good year. Hunt's a good guard, but obviously he did get overpaid. Damian Lewis, he's a decent guard, but yeah, he got overpaid. But also, I think that they're good and their O-line's a lot better. Deontay Johnson, yes, they improved there. And then running backs is just mid. But I don't know. I think.
Where is Carolina right now in their division? 1 through 4. They're 4 without even a question.
Yeah, they're 4, but also part of me as a Panthers fan is happy because you still go to draft. You don't know what you're going to get.
You don't have a first rounder.
It doesn't matter. You don't know what they're going to fleece still. You don't know if they're going to find some diamond in the rough after that, too. They still have a second rounder. You don't know what they're going to do. And then you have money next year, too. And then they're just going to draft defense probably this year. And
probably draft another quarterback.
No, shut up. Shut up.
We'll see.
And then they're just going to spend money on defense again. Like it's not a bad rebuild right now for the Panthers, I feel like.
I'm going to go.
You're just being that douchey, stingy fan right now of football.
I'm being a realist.
No, you're just being one of those guys.
It's not all sunshines and rainbow. We're not all going to win the Super Bowl.
It's not. Yeah, but they're in a rebuild. So obviously they're going to rebuild one side. They're rebuilding the offense first before they rebuild that defense, and their defense is going to be fine again.
But why does a rebuild automatically mean that they're going to have a successful rebuild? How many rebuilds fail every single year?
I think their head coach is good, and Tepper is the only thing I don't like about the Panthers.
So the guy who's writing all these checks, that's a pretty big concern.
He just is his mindset's just stupid with everything.
And he's the guy who's making the decisions.
He's making decisions to help Bryce Young right now, and then obviously that's going to work for them, and then they're going to be good.
Okay. I'm glad that you have this positive.
Put $20 on it. They're going to be good in 3 years. And they're going to keep their head coach.
What is
That's
good?
a rebuild. That is a rebuild.
Okay, whatever. I'm going to go Broncos with my final pick. I mean, it's just tough. You're seeing all this Russell Wilson optimism, and
Skip me.
you just went the.
You went the Panthers.
Sorry, you were talking so much.
Oh my gosh. I was going to go the Cardinals.
Okay, go ahead.
They haven't made any moves. I mean, you figured that they would make some moves. I mean, they have a lot of draft capital, but also I don't know how much cap they have, but you at least would have thought they would have made some decent moves. I think Jonah Jackson overpaid. I don't think he fell off, obviously, after a couple years, but I don't think that was a good move at all. I think they should have just stuck with Humphreys and kept him and then have him and Johnson together.
Jackson? Wait, did you say Rams
Humphreys,
or Cardinals?
I said Cardinals.
Then who was Jackson? You said Jackson. Jonah Jackson fell off.
Jonah Williams, my bad.
Okay, that's why I got lost. I was gonna go Broncos. Now I'm just gonna go Cowboys, just because I feel like we have to include them. I think Jerry Jones is more interested in the bottom line and having the Cowboys be the talk of ESPN than he is with actually winning a Super Bowl, because that's what his actions show. We're going to wrap this up right now. What's one move that you want to see happen still that hasn't yet?
You do yours.
I'm going to go couple just because I know you're not going to take... I mean, I'm going to just throw out a few because I don't think you're going to take any of these. But I want Zeke to go back to Dallas, just kind of as a fanboy thing. Deuce Vaughn, I think, has potential, but he's not a true RB1. Zeke showed that he can still get some carries. I would like Hunter Renfrow to go to the Steelers, but also putting Yinzer bias aside, I would like him as a fit in Kansas City or the Chargers. I think him in Kansas City, you have Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice on the outside. Him in the inside, obviously Travis Kelce and Pacheco are there. That would be scary. And then him in the Chargers, he can be a reliable target for Jim Harbaugh, who's going to have a successful rebuild, unlike the Panthers. And then Calais Campbell to the Jaguars. Pairing him up with Eric Armstead inside, you have Josh Allen and Campbell going off the edge. That all of a sudden becomes one of the most entertaining D-lines in football.
Yeah, I think I'm screwed. I'm just going to go because I'm a Steelers fan.
Justin Simmons to the Steelers.
Simmons is out of the question. I mean, out because of Elliott. You're going to hate me for this. Screw it. Tre'Davious White to the Steelers. Joey Porter, I think, is obviously going to be a good corner, but also Dante Jackson, I think, is a decent corner to have, but he's not a good guy to have in
cornerback 3.
Yeah, he's a cornerback 3, not a cornerback 2 to me. I know Tre'Davious White has injuries in obviously the past 2 seasons. I think that he was playing good till he got hurt this year, which sucks, but also makes sense why the Bills moved on because their cornerback room is deep with their first rounder, Kaiir Elam, their Benford, who's like a late round pick, and then they obviously have Douglas and Taron Johnson still there. I mean, Kendall Fuller too. Like if we could get him for a contract,
Kendall
like
Fuller's on the Dolphins.
I'm saying contract.
Okay.
If we could get him like a contract like Kendall Fuller, which pisses me off why we didn't go for him with that cheap, like that makes me mad. And I hope we could get him like cheap for like a 3-year like $25 million or something like that. I would take that because I still have faith that he's a good cornerback and he's not even 30 yet. I would take him still.
No, and I think the injury issues are very alarming. I think Taron Johnson was the true Bills cornerback one the past few years. I don't hate it. I'm very skeptical on if he's healthy and what ability he does have at this point in his career. Added on with the fact that I'm in love with the cornerbacks in this draft, whether it's Wiggins and DeJean, which I brought up earlier.
I just think it's
2 Bama boys.
I just think it's me more in my mind where I'm just like, I just want O-line first round, just build this O-line up first. But which is another thing where I'm just like, you sent me a thing, but why Connor Williams hasn't signed yet? Part of me is like, if we could get him cheap, why not we just go for him then? And just if he doesn't work out, then get rid of him. Like why not just try for him something cheap? Because that's a leverage thing. We're like, you're injured right now. You're not going to get higher than what you want right now. Like you like if we get Williams on a Mitch Morse deal, I honestly wouldn't be that mad.
No, I truly don't know if Connor Williams is going to play football this year or ever again. That's the only thing. But
I didn't even know he had that series of an injury. I thought he was
December torn ACL that tore up everything.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I thought it was just like something small, but he was out at least out for the rest of the year. It wasn't that big.
No. Luke, one last move that you want to see happen? You can do the Steelers. You could, and I go ahead and do the far-fetched one that we all secretly hope happens. If that's what's coming to your mind right now.
That's probably Jay Jettis to the Steelers. That's like my dream one that won't happen.
No, and
I can't believe he actually called about that though. That's shocking to me.
I'm skeptical on if we actually called. But I mean, even like
Just Omar
it doesn't
Omar,
hurt.
Bro. I love Omar.
A call
Omar's
doesn't
awesome.
call doesn't cost you anything. Like the Commanders called to see if Patrick Mahomes was available 3 years ago. Obviously, he's not, but also who knows? Like you're not hurting
I actually
anything.
believe Jay Jettis is on the market. They're just keeping him more quiet.
If I'm Kevin O'Connell,
I'd be
that
pissed,
sucks.
yeah.
You want to keep Kirk, the GM and the owner say no. You want to keep Jay Jettis, the owner and the GM say no. If I'm Kevin O'Connell, I'm infuriated.
I'm
if they
resigning.
trade
I'm
him.
resigning. Just waiting for a better team next year.
Good episode, little bro. Cooper/Eli, Josie, you're dead to us. We will see you guys next week. They'll be back. Eli does plan on making a return eventually. He's kicking butt with the General McLean baseball team as of right now. We do have some exciting stuff, including mock drafts coming up. We finally reached that point in the season where free agency has started to dwindle down. I feel like I'm well versed enough to start coming up with mock drafts. We have the owner of Chick-fil-A coming on. We have a fun plan for the draft itself, the week of the draft. A lot of cool content will be happening there, but just make sure to stay up to date on all of our socials. Our Linktree has our TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube in it. But thank you for the support.
And uploads will now be on Thursdays.
Ooh, yeah.
The season starts.
New announcement. Yep. So
Thursdays at 4 p.m. EST.
nice. So, and that will start. It started last week technically, but starting officially this week for you guys. But this has been the Second and Short podcast. We'll see you next week.